Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the talk show della Finestra Sul Lago. Our guests for tonight are Rachel Birthistle and Taimar Birthisle-Cooke, event designers, wedding planners, and proud partners of Una Finestra Sul Lago group. Thank you very much for coming, ladies. It is an honor to have you here tonight.
Thanks very much for asking us. It's great to be here.
So let's start from the beginning. Rachel, I know you've started your career in fashion. How was it?
Well, I knew from the time I was a very little girl that I wanted to go into fashion design because my dad was in the fashion industry and I was kind of surrounded by it all the time I was growing up, and I spent summers working in his factory, and it was just kind of, as they say, in my blood. And so I pursued that in my educational path, and I studied fashion design, and I worked in fashion design for quite a few years in England because I'm originally Irish.
Moved to England
first to study, and then started my career there, had my family there. And so I really loved my time in fashion. But, you know, everything has its course, and it led me on to other things. So
you then had a holiday in Lago Como and decided to buy a house. What happened then?
So it was about 15 years ago. We took a holiday here in Lago Como, and we took a trip up to...
The old family?
No, it was just me and my husband, and we took a trip up to Bellagio. And I remember sitting on the steps in the port in Bellagio, looking out and going, "This place is absolutely amazing."
And you fell in love.
If we ever had the opportunity to have a holiday home, it would have to be here because it had just something of everything. And so a couple of years later, we were in a position to start looking for a holiday home, and took the kids with us on this particular trip to do some searching. And it was actually Taimar that fell in love with this particular house that then became a holiday home.
So you
first.
Came the second time and you found the house?
Yes.
Holiday house still. You were still in London back then, right?
Well, we weren't in London. We were actually in the middle of England, although I did work quite a lot in London. And it's where Taimar subsequently studied. So yes, at that point, we used the house just for holidays, you know, as and when. Well, actually, whenever we could escape and come over as long weekends, summer, you know, the usual.
As much as you could, you came over.
Absolutely as much.
When you had a break from work back in England, you came over here.
Yeah.
And then you decided to come over permanently and to stay here, to live your life here.
Yeah.
Why?
Just things in life took a different turn, and I wanted a change. I'd also stopped working in fashion, and I trained in sports, and I had trained as a Pilates teacher, and I had worked in the UK doing that for about 5 or 6 years prior to coming here.
You did study for that as well, isn't it?
I did go back to university and study for that, and I opened...
So you didn't want fashion no more?
No, at that point I just wanted something that fit more around the family. Not that ended up being a brilliant choice, because working in sports and working with private clients
takes more time.
It was actually really time consuming and very antisocial hours, which prepared me well for events. But anyway, I opened a private gym and therapies along with Pilates. And when I came here, I thought, well,
I could teach Pilates.
I teach Pilates. I don't speak the language, but I'll just blag it. You know, we can do all sign language.
And you started to teach Pilates to Italian women?
I did, but it was like a double whammy. It was like Pilates and English rolled into one. So I thought they were getting really good value for money. I did really enjoy it, and it was just a way of kind of finding my feet and understanding more about the area, and I still didn't really know where that was going to take me.
And then you soon realized, because...
Well, and then I got introduced to somebody who had a wedding planning agency.
So that's the beginning.
That was the beginning.
Into the sector of wedding planning.
Yes. And he needed some help. His business was growing, and he focused on Lake Como, Lake Garda, no, not Lake Garda, Lake Orta and Lago Maggiore.
Lakes in northern
Italy. The lakes
Italy.
in northern Italy, basically. And so I did that for a season, and I thought, my heart was with Como.
So when did you realize that you wanted to start this on your own, that you were good at it and you could be successful at it?
I never really overthink anything. It just seemed like
the
a
right
good option. And it felt like something that could work.
You just started.
I just started. It was a kind of, a leap of faith, and just
Leap of faith.
The famous leap of faith.
The leap of faith. I want to talk about the leap of faith because we spoke previously about that, because we did prepare this interview, at least the bullet points. We did prepare some of it.
Not that we're very prepared normally, but we prepared for this.
And the leap of faith, which is something we have in common, because me, Nosy, and Nathan believed in something and just started, even if we didn't have all the skills needed at the time. The leap of faith is something that you can think, and if you believe in it, you can succeed in it.
Yeah.
Is that right? So you just had a gut feeling.
It's just
and started over.
a gut feeling. And even still, even with the business where it is today, maybe I should be more analytical. Maybe I should be, more considered in my approach in different ways. But I still totally go with my gut feeling, because it's what I've relied on, and it's what has worked for me over the years. So I really trust that more than, any spreadsheet or anything else somebody might put in front of me.
It proved that your gut feeling is right, so you just follow it. And I completely agree with you, which is because it's the same thing we did when we started La Finestra, now 4 years ago. So we are at the Lago Como Wedding Planners. Very successful company now. How was the beginning?
Well, the beginning was kind of, small and slow and kind of finding my feet, still not speaking the language. Well, actually, even today, my Italian skills are limited. And so we just built it up slowly and just exploring which market was our market. Also, Como was growing itself with regard to tourism.
It was 12 years ago.
Yeah. So
Como was booming at the time.
It was just starting.
Infrastructures were being created or renovated.
Yeah.
So the market was growing.
Yeah.
And you were there at the right time.
But essentially, yes.
Mm-hmm.
And
so how did you get your channels? How did you find your customers? Because starting from scratch, you didn't have any network with, customers from the States, customers from the UK. How did you get people to know you and your company at that stage?
At that stage, I was very determined to do something that was visually different to what the standard wedding aesthetic was.
There was a market gap, is it?
As far as I was concerned at that point, there was a gap in the market. Because I was so tired of the whole twee naffness of everything being pink and white and interlocking rings, and it was just very wedding-y, and it just wasn't me, and I just felt I had something new to bring to make weddings
more glamour.
Well, just a different product, just something that was less predictable. And so with that, starting on projects that were kind of smaller,
So you started with smaller weddings then?
Yes.
So we're talking about 20, 30, 40 people maybe?
Well, it wasn't really even the size of the group.
The complexity of it.
It was the complexity of it for sure, and it was also the budget of the clients was much smaller back then. And the one thing I decided was worth doing on the projects we were working on was to invest a bit more on the aesthetic. So where the clients might, just for argument's sake, have a budget of 5,000, I would add to that to make it look.
So basically you sacrificed profit, at least in the beginning, in order to make the wedding amazing in all its details.
Yeah. And to start to produce something that I felt the market needed here. America was kind of already heading that direction. America, in my opinion, is
10 steps ahead.
Yeah, in wedding fashions and trends, it always has been. And so it was really just to start producing something that also the American market could relate to here. And I suppose that's why over the years we've attracted more American clients than other nationalities.
Americans are the majority of your business, isn't it?
Predominantly, yeah.
In percentage?
Usually they make up about 85% of the business.
And the rest of it?
The rest of the world.
England, Australia, Russia?
England, Australia,
Belgium.
Hong Kong, Singapore, Indonesia, all over.
Americans love to get married over here, basically.
Yeah, Italy's always been on their radar for weddings, forever. So Como, I think, offers more than most other parts of Italy.
Visually speaking?
Visually speaking, from just the basic infrastructure, because if you fly here from the States, there's such an easy transfer. Malpensa Airport is 30, 40 minutes away. So it's not like going to other parts of the country where, you know, you have
more
to do
difficult to
multiple
adapt.
transfers, and, you know, it's just a massive journey.
Yeah, very easy to get here.
From New York to here is so straightforward.
Nice. So the company starts and
Yeah.
it grows
Yeah.
slowly, but it grows,
Yeah.
it grows. And after 7 years, Taimar, with a degree in architecture at University College London, she was working in interior design.
Yeah.
And you decide to join the company and to work with your mom.
Well, I kind of decided a few years before that, but she kept
She didn't
telling me
want
no.
Because you needed some experience.
Yeah, exactly.
I can understand that.
Exactly. And eventually the company was growing, the projects were changing, they were getting bigger, there was more design involved in them. And then eventually she
So
said yes.
you arrived when there was the need for your field of expertise.
Exactly.
So they were getting more, the details of all the weddings were getting more complicated, and there was the need for a designer,
Exactly.
which is you now.
Yeah.
So you take care of all the visual aspects of weddings, correct?
Yeah, the presentations, the floor plans, we work together on the actual design ideas, and then I kind of bring it all together in how we present it to the client.
So how does it work, the presentation? They call from the States, then they come over.
This, at the moment, no.
No, well, at the moment, no, obviously.
Usually, yes.
COVID on the
At
side.
the moment, we do a lot on video,
So they
but
call
usually,
and
yes.
we want these. So you prepare graphically what you think they want and they expect, and you send it over.
A lot of people don't know what they want, actually.
So you create on your own.
And that's the
Yeah.
best case
Just
scenario.
random words and details, and you create based on what you
We-
understand of the customer. So you have to understand what they like.
We have a questionnaire that we send, and it kind of gets the information from them, the places they like to be in, hotels, restaurants, the environments
So
that
their
they
taste,
like. So we get an idea of their taste rather than what weddings they like the look of. And then we can start from there.
So this is a question I ask to both of you. The weddings last more or less 3 to 4 days.
Yeah.
How does it start and how does it end, and what's in between?
So there's a very kind of traditional element of it, what the Americans call a rehearsal dinner. I actually don't know why it's called a rehearsal dinner. It's got nothing to do
We
with
need some.
rehearsing the wedding. But anyway, it's invariably a gathering of some description the night before. A few years ago, it was usually a dinner that was actually quite formal. That's now become something that's a little bit more relaxed. It can be, you know, a pizza party, cocktails,
Something simple.
something
But
that
it-
gets everybody together because invariably there's people that haven't met each other, so it's like an opportunity for people to
gathering,
mingle.
get together.
Yeah, exactly. And then the wedding day itself, and then the day after, there's usually a brunch or barbecue or some
Everybody's
kind of,
hungover.
Everybody's hungover. Everybody wants to like chat about the night before and say goodbye, and so that's a kind of typical flow of an event.
And then they fly back and they go to honeymoon. So their permanent series is about 3 days, correct?
I would say the average stay of a guest in Como when they're here, so whether that's the wedding couple themselves or the guests, is usually 4 to 5 days.
But the nice thing about doing those events is that we can make them all totally different. Here we can take them to a really nice restaurant. We can
Like
take
Finestra
them
Sul
to
Lago.
we can take them to a Lido, a beach place. We can take them on boats.
It's personalized.
So that between the days they get totally different experiences of the lake.
And as we said before, since they land in Milan, everything is taken care of. So from
Yeah.
transportation, accommodation, obviously restaurants, villas, and every single aspect, you two take care of it. And
Well,
that's
not just
Not
us
just-
two.
No, well, I know. There is Leo as
That would
well.
be quite difficult.
We've
Well,
got,
you two
we've
and
got
your
quite
team,
a big team
Your
now.
team, which is composed only by women, by the way.
Yeah,
Isn't
no,
it?
at one point my son was part of the team, but he
He
now
left.
is doing something he's more interested in back in
He left
London.
and
He left. So
he
yes,
went back
it
to the UK.
is only women.
Nice.
And actually, considering there's 12 of us in one small space, sometimes it's a dynamic that works really well. We've got the right mix of personalities, so it's a great team.
Nice, amazing. How is your business changed since when you started? How is Lake Como and the hospitality market changed since when you started?
Okay, well, the business has changed significantly because in the early days it was at my
Growing.
dining room table. And then we grew into an office in Argenio, then we grew into our offices in Chernobyl. So it's physically grown in size. But also, you know, as the projects changed and became more complicated, I suppose, and the aesthetic element of it grew, and we became well known for that. We kind of saw the need to have an element that we couldn't get elsewhere, and the one thing that was really missing from my point of view was furniture. And something that was a bit different. At the point
you were outsourcing. So
yeah, we were going to any rental companies, but the aesthetic didn't match ours and what we were doing from a design point of view.
And so you decided to create it.
So we decided to create a furniture rental company, which now is a separate part of the business.
So you don't rent just for yourself, you rent also for other
events. We started now this year to rent out to other events as well, and that's something that we will continue to grow. And just generally, the way that we have to manage projects is very different. So the internal structure of the company is very different because the projects need that. So we've got like some of the team that are focused on the actual planning and the logistics and the contracts. We've got the design team, we've got the sales team. And in order for it to be efficient and for it to be very polished, it's evolved into that kind of structure.
Grown, demand was growing, so was the company.
Yeah.
Glamour and Lago Como. We know you did many events for celebrities. How did you get to become so big to do the weddings of celebrities? How is it to work with celebrities, and how?
The first major celebrity event was John Legend and Chrissy Teigen's wedding, which we actually got approached by an agent in California. And this still does happen to this day, where not just VIP Americans, but they'll have an agent that they use for everything close to home. And so often we get used by American agents in a collaborative scenario where we kind of become part of their team, or it varies depending on the project. And so for John and Chrissy, that's how we start, and that was the first kind of big celebrity wedding that we did. And it's no difference to any other wedding at all, and they're like any other VIP that I've ever had any dealings with.
They maybe just want some privacy comparison with other people.
Yeah, there was obviously the security element of it. That was a much bigger aspect than we would normally have to consider.
But for the rest, it's the same.
It's really the same. The same things are important to those people as they are to people who aren't so famous, so it doesn't really change the process apart from some of the fundamentals that come into play.
So as partners and collaborators, we both know that many events have postponed or cancelled. Many have decided to get married in their homeland, and many have postponed from last year to this year, and some of them maybe the same from this year to next year. What are your feelings for the future of the market and for the future of your company?
Well, it's been quite sad not being able to work for the last year and not knowing whether we will actually be able to work this year. I think the general mood across clients is extremely positive. I don't think we're really going to know what the reality is for another few weeks as to whether we can have large groups of people gathered together, what the rules will be, if it's actually going to be relaxed enough to host a wedding. I think we're just going to have to wait and see. But as for what the future holds and the impact of this couple of years of a pandemic, I think that ultimately the market will just boom.
I agree.
Well, we're already seeing that for 2022.
An extraordinary level of inquiries for 2022.
It will boom.
It really will.
As soon as this finish, it will boom, and that's something we want our listeners to know. We feel like the market will boom, and we are very happy about it and looking forward to work at it. Before concluding, Nathan wanted to know a funny episode that happened during one of the events that you have organized.
I had a very, very strange wedding a few years ago. It was kind of stressful. I won't go into too much details because you never know who follows you on Instagram.
Maybe the guys following us.
Keep the most stressful element of it the focus of the story.
However,
so there was a member of the guests that was there was a bet in the room with a significant amount of money, cash, on this bet. The guy had to swim across. The wedding was at Villa Erba. The guy had to swim across to Torno to buy a packet of cigarettes.
During the wedding dinner.
During the dinner and swim back again. And I was standing on the steps of Villa Erba watching this guy with a bald
was
head.
night.
No, it wasn't dark. It was still daytime. It was about 7 o'clock in the evening. It was the middle of the summer. Watching this bald head bob up and down on the lake, and there was boats going past, and at a certain point I couldn't see him anymore, and I thought, he's dead! And like, no, because the movement of the water, it's really difficult to see little things in the water.
Little bald head in the middle of the lake.
At a certain point, after I don't know how, your sense of time in those situations just like goes. He did come back.
He did.
With a pack of cigarettes. But I really thought we were going to be, sending out a search party to retrieve a body from the lake. That's got to be about the most stressful. But there's been so many funny stories that we've collected, and some that probably aren't so repeatable. But I could write a book at some point in my life if the pandemic continues. I'll take to writing instead.
Very funny episode, absolutely. So in conclusion, me and the guys wanted to tell you that we are very proud of collaborating with you, and that we are very looking forward to actually start this collaboration, and we know and we believe that we will do great things together. So thank you.
We feel the same, and I think for us it's really important to work with like-minded people, and I got that sense from you guys immediately, and people who are passionate and just honest to themselves as well, and just that whole leap of faith and our kind of similar philosophies. I just felt it was a perfect partnership, so we're super excited. Can't wait to get working again.
Let's wait and start this season, which actually won't be 100%, but maybe, we don't know, 60%.
We don't know, 60%, 50%, but at this point we'll take anything.
Whatever they give us. And thank you very much for coming, ladies. It was an honor to host this interview.
So nice.
And much love. Thank you, ladies.